my name is Elizabeth. I'm 29 years old and I wanted to tell all of you guys my story. When I was 9 years old, they found that I had a kidney disease. It's called Berger syndrome. Technically, your kidneys are gonna stop working at some point and you will eventually need a kidney transplant. I had a kidney transplant when I was 18. The doctors estimated that I would need a kidney transplant when I was 21, but because I had an eating disorder when I was 16 years old, I believe that I accelerated that process of kidney damage. When I was 9 years old, I started peeing with blood and the doctors couldn't explain why this was happening. They thought it was an infection and my mom took me to different doctors and they kept saying the same thing. My mom decided to take me to a better doctor in the capital, and luckily he was the director of the children's hospital and he immediately sent me to the children's hospital like for an emergency checkup, and I was able to get a biopsy, and in that biopsy was where they found I had this disease. So I would say that when I was 9 years old, the most painful procedure that I went through was my biopsy, but I had one biopsy in Costa Rica and I had one biopsy in the United States. And in the biopsy in Costa Rica, I remember being very painful. I only had like local anesthesia and something that made me kind of feel like drowsy and a little drunk. And in the United States, I had like complete anesthesia. I don't remember anything. I remember I just went to sleep and woke up and the biopsy was already done. And after that, I had to start taking a lot of medications with side effects, and I also had to change my diet. Doctors told me that with the medication that I was taking, the risks of gaining weight were very high. So I could not eat sodium anymore to take care of my kidneys, and I could not eat fat to reduce the probabilities of gaining weight. The dietary restrictions that I had when I was 9 years old and on were very difficult for me, because it's very difficult as a child to understand that you cannot have certain foods. So for example, in birthday parties or family celebrations, they would serve everybody a lot of tasty food, for example pizza or cakes or ice cream, and I knew I couldn't eat that. It was very challenging to understand that and understand why in your plate you had tasteless broccoli and rice when everybody was having a burger, for example. And when I was a teenager, the side effects of how, for example, you start swelling up, like your face starts getting super round, and as a teenager, you're very self-aware of how you look and how others perceive you. I was very physically active and I still couldn't change. It didn't matter what I ate, the way that I looked. And that was because of the side effects of my medication. My face was very round. My eyes were very swollen all the time. So it was very challenging, and I believe that that is one of the reasons that I developed this eating disorder that later affected my kidney function. As I told you before, the doctors estimated that when I was 21 I was going to need a kidney transplant, but it was actually when I was 18. So the process was faster than I expected and my family expected. When you need a kidney transplant, you of course need a donor. And luckily I had my cousin. My cousin is same age as I. And since we were little kids and she discovered that I needed a kidney, she told me that if you need a kidney, I will give it to you. One morning, I was having breakfast. I was actually doing very badly. When I was 18, my kidneys decided to stop working. And the first symptom that I had was that I couldn't breathe because my lungs were full of water, because my kidneys were no longer able to discharge the extra liquid that was in my body. I went to the doctors and they scanned my lungs and they found out that I had water in my lungs, and that was quite of a surprise, because other than that I was not feeling particularly bad or sick. But it was after that everything started getting more complicated. It was a very challenging time, and I remember having an appointment at 7 in the morning that day and having breakfast around 6 and getting a phone call, and it was somebody from the hospital, and I remember them saying, Elizabeth, we need you to come to the hospital this morning because we have a kidney for you. And I remember being in shock and thinking, why are they calling me to give me a kidney if my cousin is going through the tests? And I told them, no, I think you're confused. I already have a donor. You can give this kidney to somebody else. And they said, well, you don't understand. This kidney is for you. Well, this kidney was from a person that had unfortunately just died. And when somebody has a neurological death, they have to give out the organs that are going to be donated as soon as possible. And this person that died had blood type AB positive, which matched with my blood type and somebody else's. So technically they had to give a kidney to each one of us. That morning I went to the hospital and the tests were very fast. You're just there, they draw some blood and you stay there. That same day they called, I think before 7 a.m. and around 6 p.m. I was already getting into the operation room. So the process was very fast. After that, I spent 1 week in the hospital. That's the amount of time that you have to be in the hospital for them to check if the kidney is really working and if your body has accepted your kidney. Luckily, my kidney transplant went very well. After that week, I got discharged, and after that, everything went perfectly. Until I had acute rejection. And my acute rejection, it just showed on tests. Really, I didn't really feel anything. My creatinine, which can be seen in your blood and that shows how your kidneys are functioning, started going up. But I don't remember feeling any particular symptom, like not even headaches or anything like that. Just the tests started reflecting that, and my doctor seemed to be worried. So I got into the hospital, and what they technically did was to reset my immune system. And how they did that, they suppressed my immune system very low to the minimum, to what they could, and then they raised it up again. And they do that a few times until I can be discharged from the hospital, because again, my immune system forgot that it discovered my kidney and it wanted to attack it. After you have a kidney transplant, you have to take medications for life. And these medications, what they do is they suppress your immune system. And your immune system has to be suppressed because naturally your immune system wouldn't want to accept anything that doesn't originally belong to your body. And that can be with anything, from a piercing to an organ. And basically when you take these medications, of course your immune system is more vulnerable. So you're more vulnerable to getting colds, to getting sick. So you of course have to take care of yourself when it comes, for example, to being in places with lots of people that many times carry viruses. And it's not the same way how a virus affects a person that is immunosuppressed and a person that is not. After that I had this acute rejection. It had been 6 years since I had my kidney transplant, and my doctor said, I don't think your kidney is gonna last much longer. And he said that he would say that maybe 2 more years until I need a kidney transplant. And that's another thing. Kidneys don't necessarily last in your body forever. And that means that you also have to be prepared that eventually you might need another kidney transplant. So the doctor said that my kidney wouldn't last more than 2 years. And here I am. It's been 11 years since I had my kidney transplant, and I feel healthier than ever. I feel fitter than ever. And I think, and at least I attribute the success to my plant-based diet. Since I was 12 years old, I decided that I didn't want to eat more meat, but it had been more of a conflict because it's not easy to become vegetarian in your family when you're 12, especially when you're being fed by your family, and it's a little bit more complicated. However, when I was 16, I decided that I was definitely not gonna eat more meat, and maybe it becomes easier when you're 16. However, after my kidney transplant, my doctor told me I need you to consume some kind of meat because it's gonna help you recover better. Unfortunately, I followed that advice because I didn't know better, and I really didn't do my research. So when I was 18, I started consuming again fish and chicken. But then I became plant-based, and with my plant-based diet, my creatinine levels decreased and my kidney hasn't been as healthy as it is now, and I really attribute this to a plant-based diet. For all of those that are trying to keep healthy kidneys, or that have been through a kidney transplant, or are even about to get a kidney transplant and overall want to increase or better your health, I really recommend a plant-based diet. My main reason wasn't really for the kidney. I came to discover that my kidney started functioning better after I went vegan. I'm not saying that it's easy to become vegan. It is a bit of a challenge, especially when you're starting, but I really want you guys to know that your kidneys, or your kidney, because I only work with one, and all of us that have had a kidney transplant only work with one, they would really be grateful. I hope this video is gonna be helpful for many of you. And if you have any questions, let me know. I'm open to answering any questions, and thank you for watching.